George Bush's budget deficit will leave our children with debt for decades to come. The president's tax and economic plans have given us the largest budget deficit in American history. In just 3 years, America has gone from a surplus to a $2.7 trillion deficit. And it's our children and grandchildren who will have to pay the bills. America and our children can't afford 4 more years. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
When I was appointed the director of the Miami-Dade Police Department, the policy was that we would not investigate any cases of public corruption, and I changed the philosophy of the department.
He has led a department of 5,000 individuals through ethics and morals.
He's not afraid. You know, you cross that line and you're going to pay.
We initiated over 900 investigations and made over 300 arrests in the arena of public corruption.
To me, that is integrity, to do what's necessary to get the job done.
My wife, Wendy, was murdered by terrorists on September 11th.
The Faulkner's daughter, Ashley, closed up emotionally. But when President George W. Bush came to Lebanon, Ohio, she went to see him, as she had with her mother 4 years before.
He walked toward me and I said, "Mr. President, this young lady lost her mother in a World Trade Center."
And he turned around and he came back and he said, "I know that's hard. Are you all right?"
Our president took Ashley in his arms and just embraced her. And it was at that moment that we saw Ashley's eyes fill up with tears.
He's the most powerful man in the world, and all he wants to do is make sure I'm safe, that I'm okay.
What I saw was what I want to see in the heart and in the soul of the man who sits in the highest elected office in our country.
Progress for America Voter Fund is responsible for the content of this message.
Seen this ad for Amendment 3? It's phony, deceptive, just like the arguments for Amendment 3. As the St. Petersburg Times disclosed, the sympathetic woman claiming to be hurt isn't really hurt, but is an actor. Bankrolled by the healthcare industry, Amendment 3 gives special legal protection to the healthcare industry, even for medical errors that cause death or severe injury. It will make healthcare more dangerous. Don't be fooled by Amendment 3's deceptive ads. Vote no on 3.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz understands that when you call 911, you don't get the FBI. You reach the local sheriff and fire rescue. Debbie understands the battle against terrorism starts right here in our community with our firefighters and our deputies.
Sending someone like Debbie to Congress means we're sending a person who will fight for the funds we need.
First responders know that Debbie has always supported police and fire. She's a fighter. She understands our issues. She's on our side.
This is Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I approve this message.
Two weeks to go until Election Day, what our new poll says about the tight race as the candidates go at each other over terrorism and Social Security. Kidnapped. In Iraq, a woman who has spent her life helping Iraqis, a chilling reminder that no one is immune from the wave of terror. Extreme weather. A small plane crashes and burns on an unusually stormy day across the South. And the home front. An Iraqi orphan, an American war hero, on U.S. soil for the first time to begin a new life in the heartland.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. The phone banks are humming, the emails are flashing, the volunteers are going door to door, and the candidates are at full throttle as one of the most hotly contested presidential campaigns in modern times makes the turn for the final 2 weeks. We'll have the latest NBC News poll on the head-to-head matchup and also the perils and possibilities for both candidates. But we're going to begin tonight on the campaign trail where Social Security and other financial issues drove today's debate. NBC's David Gregory is with the Bush campaign tonight.
The final sprint will feel like a marathon in razor-close Florida, where both candidates will keep showing up until Election Day. Today, the president accused John Kerry of using scare tactics to win over the state's seniors and younger voters alike.
We will keep the promise of Social Security for our seniors. We will not have a draft. We will have an all-volunteer army.
On Social Security, the president defended his plan, which allows younger workers to set up an individual savings account by using a portion of their payroll tax. Senator Kerry claims the transition costs alone to a new system will endanger the retirement program, a charge the president dismissed.
My opponent will say anything he thinks will benefit him politically at the time.
With voting already underway in Florida, the Bush campaign is running hard here, trying to avoid a replay of the recount of 2000. But because the hurricanes cut campaigning short here last month, Bush aides concede they're trying to make up for lost time in this must-win state. Residents here are bombarded with political ads on television. This spot by the Bush campaign plays on voters' fears of terrorism.
John Kerry and his liberal allies, are they a risk we can afford to take today?
As for the electoral map, Bush advisors concede the president may lose New Hampshire. Two other Bush states, Colorado and Nevada, remain closer than expected. But they see opportunities in traditionally Democratic states, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Wisconsin, New Mexico. Mr. Bush will even travel to Minnesota this week. A senior Bush campaign official says between now and Election Day, the president will make twice as many stops in states Al Gore won in 2000 than in Bush states. The exception is Florida, where Bush aides admit there is a lot of work yet to do to keep it in Republican hands. David Gregory, NBC News, The Villages, Florida.
For his part, Senator Kerry went after the traditional Democrat vote today with his Social Security themes and after the undecided voters on the economy. Here's NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
Today, before a Pennsylvania crowd chanting 2 more weeks, John Kerry, in an appeal to the swing voter, sought to define himself, not the president, as the more fiscally responsible.
Give me that line item veto pen, and I will cut the fat out of the budget.
Chiding Mr. Bush for tax cuts that Kerry claims favor the wealthy.
He spent billions and billions.
And a record deficit. Kerry claims the president has levied a birth tax on future generations.
His 4-year spending spree on tax giveaways for millionaires has undermined the hopes of middle-class families, and it has put Social Security on a dangerous road.
For a third straight day, Kerry pressed that re-electing the president puts retirement security at risk.
My fellow Americans, on November 2nd, Social Security is on the ballot.
Kerry claims the president plans to privatize part of the system, a move Kerry says would jeopardize benefits while boosting profits for financial institutions. The Bush campaign calls that stunningly inaccurate and downplays its impact on the race. Kerry advisors say the undecided voters they seek are naturally reluctant to fire an incumbent president. To reach them, aides say, Kerry needs to demonstrate that he is an alternative they can be comfortable with on both the economy and national security. Today, Kerry's ad makers rolled out 2 new spots to hit the president on Iraq.
Over 1,000 U.S. soldiers killed.
And for the first time, a Kerry ad features a September 11th widow.
We learned the truth. We are no safer today.
Whether on emotion or the facts and figures, Kerry is trying to steer voter dissatisfaction with the president into a reason to choose him. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
And tonight, with 2 weeks to go, we're out with our latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. It continues to show a very tight race. It's what's inside that poll that is so interesting. I'm joined now by our Washington bureau chief and moderator of Meet the Press, Tim Russert. Tim, let's begin with that big question, right track, wrong track.
The incumbent favorite question, Tom. They always like to see 50% right track. It's only 39, wrong track 48, a warning sign for George Bush.
And what about the election?
Tom, this country is taking this election very seriously. Look at this. In 2004, 3 out of 4 Americans think this election makes a difference. Compare that with 1996, only 40% thought it was a significant election.
And what has affected them? What about the debates?
The debates were very good news for John Kerry. He was behind before them, but look at this. 1 out of every 3 Americans say they are more likely to support John Kerry because of his debate performance. Winning the debates does not mean winning the election, but it gave John Kerry a new political lease on life.
Do we have a better sense of why these voters are voting for these various candidates?
We do. Look at the Kerry vote, Tom. There's some people obviously like John Kerry, support his positions, but nearly half are voting for John Kerry because they're against George Bush. With George Bush, it's the exact opposite. Almost 3 in 4 voters are saying they are for George Bush, period. Only 16% are voting for Bush because they don't like John Kerry.
And how's the war in Iraq cutting as we go into the final 2 weeks, Tim?
This is hopeful news for George Bush. When we asked whether people thought there'd be a successful conclusion, 46% now say they are more confident there will be, less 41, but that's up 9 points in just a month. George Bush has basically convinced the American people somewhat that things in Iraq are going better than they were just 30 days ago.
And finally, let's talk about the horse race, the matchup between the two candidates, and we have to throw Ralph Nader into all that as well, Tim.
We sure do. 2 weeks from tonight, Tom, we'll know, we think, who will be the next president of the United States. Look at this. George Bush, 48. John Kerry, 48. Ralph Nader, 1. What a horse race.
Tim, as we look at the electoral map, the battleground states remain pretty much the same.
Still 9 undecided states, Tom, and it looks like it's going to come down once again to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and our old friend, Florida, Florida, Florida.
And based on the people that I'm talking to in both parties, the great unknown this time is what appears to be a very large pool of new voters registering for the first time.
Who are they, and how will they break? Are they young people? If so, will they be disproportionately for John Kerry? Those new voters could skew all these polls and make it for a very long election night.
All right, thanks very much, NBC's Tim Russert, moderator of Meet the Press and our Washington bureau chief. And one more note about voting tonight. Missouri state officials said today that a record number of people are registered to vote this year, 4.2 million, which presents a small problem because statewide there are less than 4.3 million people eligible to vote. That would mean a 98% registration rate. The Secretary of State's office says the voter rolls are, quote, somewhat inflated. They say most of the duplications are inadvertent, they believe, and they're not worried about people voting more than once. Even as voters in our poll express more confidence that the war in Iraq will come to a successful end, there was a new reminder today that no one is immune from the wave of terror that is making it so hard right now to win the peace in that country. A woman who has spent much of her life helping Iraqis and who holds Iraqi citizenship herself by virtue of a marriage is the latest kidnap victim. NBC's Jim Maseda has her story tonight.
Margaret Hassan, the director of CARE International in Iraq, doing her job, assessing how to salvage a Baghdad hospital destroyed in a bomb blast.
We do also hospitals.
A British professional in her 60s with an Iraqi husband, children, and passport, Hassan has for 3 decades dedicated her life to helping Iraqis.
Well, thank you for what you do.
But this was Margaret Hassan today as she appeared on Al Jazeera TV, anxious, just hours after being kidnapped by an unnamed but armed Iraqi group. Hassan, who refused to use armed guards, was taken on her way to work. Her husband, Tassim. She was followed by 2 cars, one in front and one in the rear, he says. She is the 6th woman taken hostage by increasingly emboldened kidnappers.
Needless to say, we're doing what we can to secure her release.
In today's Iraq, the head of an international humanitarian aid organization is a soft target.
That multinational organization could represent a very large potential purse, either in political leverage or in financial recompense.
Less than 2 weeks after Britain Ken Bigley's brutal beheading, Hassan's kidnapping is a new blow to Prime Minister Tony Blair and his government's controversial pro-war policy in Iraq.
And I think it shows you the type of people we're up against.
Blair's options are limited. He can neither cave in to demands nor pay a ransom.
It is a stalemate scenario where they cannot be seen to concede.
So tonight, a Western woman who inspired Iraqis with her caring is another victim in a spate of kidnappings that seems unstoppable. Jim Maseda, NBC News, Baghdad.
And there are chilling new pictures tonight from a security camera of the terror bombings at the Spanish train station just over 7 months ago. Here is the train platform in Madrid. The video begins after one bomb has already exploded. There is another explosion, and then about 5 seconds later, this. The bombings killed 191 people. Those are security cameras. Up next, NBC News in Depth tonight, our special election year series, Divided We Stand, the war in Iraq. Veterans with family members in uniform, deeply divided. Later, bad weather around the country, flooding, winds, and record-breaking tornadoes.
We try to do a lot of things before we succeed. That's why we keep trying. Maybe all the times you try